Abbey here with Hi5 Practice, and I'm so excited for you all to be joining us for this new segment that we've brought in here on Facebook Live so we can all eat together every Wednesday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time. Only, as you know, when I say eat, I mean something a little different than food. EAT is our formula to generate loyal patients for life. It stands for educate, automate, and target. But by all means, I know this is your lunch hour, so you can physically eat your food while we fill you up with some knowledge, all things dental. So today I have some very special guests. Yay! Today is going to be joining me is Dr. Oakes and Dr. Holmes with Vitality Dental to really gain perspective of the doctor's point of view. So thank you guys for joining me today. Yay! Yeah, I'm so glad to have you on and get your perspective. And I know you guys have been a client of ours for 4 years, and you've taught me a lot over the years about all things dental. So it's nice to have you come on and pick your brain. But for those that don't know Vitality Dental or who you guys are, go ahead and introduce yourself. Put you on the spot.
Sorry, you're cutting out. Just a second.
Yes, what'd you just say? Sorry.
You gotta love technology. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, you just froze for a sec.
Like freezing. If you guys want to go ahead and talk, Dr. Oakes and Dr. Holmes, if you want to say which one is which, and talk about the history of Vitality and how you guys started your practice. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Oakes. Got it.
Can you guys hear it?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
And this is Dr. Holmes, obviously. Yeah, the practice is I guess we're on about the 4th generation of dentists here at Vitality. Practice has been around 60 years or so. Dr. Lloyd was the dentist who started the practice, and my former partner, Dr. Huffines, bought the practice from him. And then Dr. Huffines and I became partners back in 2012. And then Dr. Huffines retired in 2016. We changed the name to Vitality at that point. And then we had Tyler come on as an associate in 2017. And then in January of 2020, Tyler became a partner. So lots happened over the last really 10, 12 years. And and becoming a partner right before COVID was interesting too. So that's a whole different story. But
you can tell Dr. Holmes, your face is like, yeah. To go back to that.
We got through it though. It went well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what's really cool to be a part of your guys' journey. I mean, we joined you back when you were Huffines and Oakes, and it's been really cool to see how you've progressed and how you've really gone through all those changes as far as different doctors and the transitions of retirement to new associate to co-owner. Like, that's huge to go all through that. But I think what's really cool too is the time and the effort you guys put into your name, your brand, your team. Dr. Oakes, you're really a big advocate of this, of making sure that everything exudes the right brand and down to your core values, which I don't think a lot of practices take the time to do. So I just think it's really cool that you guys put in that time to make sure, because the patients are going to experience that. So to change your name and to go through all that transition is really been cool to be a part of.
Yeah, that was what drew me to the practice to begin with. I think you and I have talked about it a lot. I mean, I think it was something that resonates with a lot of people. Is the soul of the practice is always been here, and to continue that's very important to us. And what drew me wasn't, I didn't know the patients. What I knew was the culture of the patients and what Dr. Huffine stood for. And I assumed just by viewing that what the patient base was going to be like, and they did. They were what I expected. So, I mean, it wasn't hard to take that leap of faith for me to join the practice. I mean, I knew what I wanted, and it was pretty clear, pretty quick. So it's really important to keep that going. The rest of the success of the practice will typically fall in place if you have those things. If you have those things in place. So
absolutely, you need the bones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you put in the heart and soul, as well. And definitely Dr. Huffines did that too, so taking that and making sure it evolves over, because it's such a long-standing practice, you want to make sure that that soul and heart is still there. And that's, the vitality of everything. So I think that was really cool to be a part of, to actually care about that. But it does matter. The name, the brand, the way you present yourself to your current patients. And then, of course, after the fact, when you get new patients.
It's hard to do. I mean, a lot of times when you hear people taking over practices or becoming partners, you'll hear patients say that the practice has changed. And I never wanted that to happen. I mean, it's hard because you're growing, and a good, healthy practice will grow and should grow if you're doing the right things. But you still want those patients who've been coming for 30 years to still feel comfortable and have them not, the cliche is that they feel like a number. But I don't feel like anybody, if they felt like that here, I haven't heard it. I mean, I hope that they wouldn't, but
I can't imagine that. Yeah. That's always been part of your values, right? Is making sure that everybody feels like they have an individualized experience with your practice, and that they don't feel like a number or a notch, right? Like they're actually having their own custom experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I like to kind of pick your guys' brains as far as what your day-to-day looks like. So what, even for, up and coming dentists or maybe other partners and stuff out there, to really understand what you guys work through day to day in your practice, because a lot of times you think of a dentist, you think of a clinician, but you guys are so much more than that. You're handling a lot more in the office. So describe your typical day for us to understand it a little bit better.
Well, I mean, there's obviously a lot that goes into the day, as you just kind of alluded to. The patient care comes first, but then managing the practice is a whole another side to it. That where do you fit that in? That's always the problem. You just kind of have to squeeze it in between patients or make time for it. But I mean, we're pretty busy all day.
Yeah, I mean, we start the day with a morning huddle, try and get the day squared away, and then we jump right in at 7 o'clock to seeing patients. So from 7 to 4, we're seeing patients. But like he was saying, the CEO time is hard to find in between patients. So sometimes you actually have to block out some time to do that, which is still hard. I mean, you block an hour off, you can imagine how quickly that goes. But typical day, I mean, we have 3 hygienists and 6 total chairs. So we're during the day, it's seeing the patients as they need us, and then trying to fit in emails, or Tyler and I having conversations on practice management or staff management or patients, what to do about certain cases. So every day is like that. Even slow days, you can fill it with tons of other things to do. So,
most of the time at 4 o'clock, we're like, wow, where did the day go? Because we're just constant, one thing after the other. But it's good to be busy like that, I think.
Yeah. When you love what you do, it goes fast too. But of course, by 4 o'clock, you're probably like, yeah, there's other elements that have to happen. I took care of the patients, or maybe we saw more patients than we were expecting. But now I've really got to take a step back and make sure, if you have a team member that wanted to be talked to, or just there's growth of the practice. And, but I like how you said your CEO hat. I mean, it is, you're entrepreneurs, you have to balance everything. You're not just a clinician, and making sure that the practice and the patients are all taken care of all at the same time every single day. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders.
People sometimes think we're just checking the hygiene patients. Some of my friends think that, they don't realize that you're doing surgeries. You're also, managing and doing those things. So I don't know what other jobs are like. I've never, maybe college being different jobs I've had there, but professional career. like I'm sure yours does. I mean, just when you're here, you're working,
Yeah.
And so it's busy.
Or that's a good point too. There's hygiene checks and they're like, oh, I just saw Doc for a few minutes. And it's like, yeah, but you're doing so much more behind the scenes and making sure things are moving, or you're going straight to another room to actually do surgery and make sure.
And you got to give everybody their time, everybody, I mean, try not to make them feel rushed. Even if you are rushed, there are definitely times when we are, but.
And you talked about a morning huddle. What all do you guys talk about in your morning huddle? Because this is so crucial for practices to get on the same page every day. So I love that you guys do that. What do you check in on for your morning huddles day to day? And does it change at all?
We kind of go over like open treatment, like who has something scheduled or who needs to be talked to about certain procedures or treatment. We go over recall, who's due, like just anything regarding the schedule, just to kind of get everybody on the same page.
Which assistants need to go where,
yeah,
kind of where we stand for the month, on our goals, any kind of little, just for the day, something we might need to know if there's a patient who needs something special, or, hey, remember what we're going to do here. I mean, it's just good to check in. We've tinkered with it at different times of the day. We used to try and do it at lunch. That didn't go very well, and try and for even talk about the next day. So, I mean, before work we start at 7, so people have to get here pretty early, and it's hard to get everybody, ready to go at that point. But it's really the only time that works, to be honest. I mean, and most of the time it only takes, 5 or 10 minutes. It's not a big in-depth thing. And sometimes there's a lot of energy and sometimes there's not, but everybody's thinking about what they've got to do. But it's good just to kind of just quick huddle to understand, and then kind of break, and everybody knows what they're doing.
Absolutely. We've actually implemented it into our we also have morning huddles, because we've been, working with dental practices and found the value there. It's a nice moment to kind of collect your thoughts, get everybody on the right track, and then just go. It doesn't have to be this 1 hour elaborate meeting, just 5-10 minutes, get everybody on the same page, check in, and then let's go and knock out today, because we might not see each other back until 4, and have a legit conversation. So I think that's great that you guys implement that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our question too about patients, you're talking about, you want to spend quality time with each patient, right? You want to make sure that their experience, what we say, is unmatched, right? So how have you noticed patient changes, like with relationships and just like communication with patients? Do you find that they want more time when you're in person with them, and then more communication online or personal touches? Like, what do you notice with patient experiences in the office?
I don't know. I mean, for me, it's always been personal.
Yeah.
That one-on-one, or if we haven't made something clear, getting back on the phone. And I mean, patients always appreciate a phone call. I haven't done much online stuff, but, it's kind of, I always say it's a little bit of a throwback to be able to have that, if you're going to call and check up. I know Tyler does that a lot, which I'm not sure how many practices do that. He does a lot of surgery, so you can maybe talk.
Yeah, and we use, I don't know if you ever heard the DISC personality assessment.
Yeah.
So we do that. We try to do that on most of our patients. So they're all obviously assigned, a letter. So we kind of know like the people that are going to want to have more of a conversation, and they're going to want to ask more questions, versus those that just kind of want to get to the point. They want to hear like, this is what you need, this is how much it's going to cost, or somebody wants to tell you their whole life story. So you're going to have to know, be adaptable to the situation, but at the same time, be aware of the schedule, what else is going on, so you can kind of not run over too much, but still be efficient and answer all their questions. So.
That is amazing. I didn't realize you guys did that. How do you do that during their appointment to really make sure that where they fall in line with this?
And the first, it starts with a phone call. I mean, you can get a lot about the way they want, but then the hygienists are understanding the questions that they're asking, or, how they're handling themselves with just, pretty quick. I mean, it can change and it can evolve, but for the most part, when you've done this for a long time, you know which one they are and if they're going to need more time or if they want, like Tyler said very well, if certain personality type will just want the facts and then the price and then get it scheduled, or don't want to talk about it, do. And then some people who, like an engineer, is going to want to ask a lot of questions, which is fine. And especially when you're going to need to spend a little extra time. But that's been pretty cool to be able to do that. I mean, we kind of intuitively, and I think a lot of dentists, probably some of the better ones who have good relationships, probably just intuitively do it.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be on the same page with everyone. It's not to minimize who these people are down to a letter, but it just, I don't know. I think it just adds a good layer to patient care. So I would be impressed if I went to a doctor and they had figured out what personality type I am by the things that I ask. So like, okay, that's cool. So,
Absolutely. Well, you can't, our biggest thing is communication and education, right? So making sure that how are you going to properly educate and communicate to these people if you don't understand what they're actually obtain, like how they obtain information best and how they can relate to you. So the fact that you go above and beyond and get that and make sure to match their needs so they understand everything that you guys are providing them with or going to be providing them with, understanding their options and saying it in a way that they feel related to is huge. That's incredible. That's an extra layer of service that you're absolutely right. If I went to a doctor and they said that, it would be above and beyond, because not only are you just asking me about my personal life, but you actually can relate to me. How did you come up with doing that? Did you hear about that from another practice?
We had no, it was a consultant that we used. They came and when we did it, I thought we were just kind of personality profiling each other just to understand how to communicate with each other. I wasn't even thinking about it, taking it to that level of the patients. But they came in and we all took the personality test and realized how each of us are. And we laughed about how dead on it was. Specifically about my personality is a D personality, which is dominant. And it's like, I like just the facts, or if I get worked up about something, I can get over it in a heartbeat. And, except for, when Abbey kind of doesn't hang out with us at a summit, but it's great. But it was cool to see, who was the social butterflies and who were, serious or who were, softer at heart and things like that. I mean, it all matched up. So we had immediate buy-in right away because we knew how much it really was who we were, the descriptions. And then they just gave it, we role played a lot with these couple ladies, and we did it for an entire weekend. And then they touched base with us for over the next, I think it was a whole next year. And they would come into the office and just see how we worked in the office. And it was at least 6 months, maybe not a year, but they did a lot of coaching calls. And so it was a lot of time and effort to put into it. And but it's been super helpful. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you guys have always been great at, is just making sure that you want to provide the best patient experience and understand them. So, and bringing up, okay, so we were at the summit, Dr. Mark Costas's event, which was awesome. But you guys, we're talking a lot about your patients. It even comes down to your team. You brought your whole team to this event because you and Dr. Oakes and Dr. Holmes, you both go to Mark Costas' summits and you're very involved with him. But then there's the fact that you brought your whole team out to Phoenix to really get you guys into a team building. How did you decide to do that? Because that's unheard of. Usually it's a few people, maybe an office manager. And I love that you guys brought the whole team to really dive into CE and just have a team bonding experience.
It was mostly because of that, just to have a team bonding experience. But like I was talking to you out there, whenever you go to an event like that and you kind of witness what it's like, it's really hard to relay that to people. So you come back with all this energy and all these new ideas, and then you tell your team, and they're just kind of like, okay, they don't really understand. But when actually you're out there and you can experience it, and you get to know the people and everything, I think there's a lot more power to it that way.
That's a special group. I mean, Abby, you and I were talking about it. I mean, it's different than just going to attend just to check something off the box. I mean, it's a pretty powerful, driven group of dentists, whether they were part of the smaller group or not. It's a different crowd in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. Innovators, people that want to be top of dentistry and like make sure that their practice is doing the best, and seeing it more as that it's about culture, it's about a business. There's more elements, and seeing the practice that way is super insightful. Which brings me to your team, because you guys have an amazing team. They're the best, and you've probably been through different team members and therefore over the years, right? So what are some tips when it comes to finding a great team, or to making sure you have the right team members that are going to fit into your culture? How would you, and really just any tips that you would give practices that are either just starting out or dentists that are trying to be dentists and trying to be successful?
Jeez, that's a hard one.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
We've definitely had some people that didn't work out. I feel like ever since I've been at this practice, there's been a core group of people that their energy just kind of draws more people like them here.
Yeah.
So, I just kind of stay out of the way. Whenever we have somebody come in and interview, we like to do a working interview. I think probably most people do that, but let them work all morning, let them eat with the girls, and they kind of see how everyone's gonna vibe together or whatever. But I don't know,
the wrong person they'll show themselves very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, we've certainly have hired someone that we thought might work, but it shows itself very, very quickly that it's not. And those are hard. Those are hard things to do, because you want to give everybody a chance, and it can be intimidating with a good tight group for sure. So you want to give everybody a chance, but the right ones seem to adapt very quickly, and you kind of know.
Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday. We're one of the few dental practices that I know of that didn't lose a single person through COVID.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends, they lost employees, and now you're trying to hire people.
Yeah.
And that's a lot, more difficult right now, especially. So we've kind of lucked out there.
Yeah. Well, I think it shows you guys as leaders, though, too. You wanted to make sure that they were taken care of during that scary time, right? And also, you've invested in your team. You guys do bonus programs. You make sure that, we've talked about this extensively with like referral programs and stuff, is giving back to your team. And you said earlier, both of you talked about goals. You have goals, you have them in your back office, you make sure everybody knows about the goals, you talk about the goals, you discuss them in the morning huddles, like making sure that there is a purpose to every day into the month. It is something that is so crucial, but a lot of teams miss. So I think that shows by just making sure that you're investing into your team more than anything. And that's why they're going to stay loyal to you too, and have that culture.
Mm-hmm.
I have you guys right. So as far as new practices or dentists that are, maybe making transitions or trying to change things.
Yeah, I feel like that.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Lost you. So as far as new dentists, as far as new dentists, or
as far as new dentists.
Repeat the question.
Oh yeah. I was just saying, if for any new dentists that are starting, or maybe there's practices that are established, but they want to change things up, or they want to do something different, what are some tips that you would give any dentists out there to be successful? Or what do you think is really key that you have at your practice that you wish other dentists all knew about, whether they do or don't?
So a big thing that we've been learning is the systems and accountability and being really transparent. I mean, lots of people think they have systems for each position, or just directives for people how they need to. I mean, people want to be led, they want to know what their job is, but more than that, the accountability part is big. I mean, we still struggle with the exact accountability because everybody has different levels of experience in the practice or what, but that's something that I think really drives a culture, is the systems and accountability, and trying to be consistent with that. I mean, it's very tough in what we do at the stress that we are, but we spend as many waking hours with these people as we do our family. So, I'm sure, like most dental offices, you either feel very close with your employees, or if it's not a good culture, a good fit, it probably feels like you're on an island and feels very isolating or lonely. So, I mean, to me, it's finding people who do want to believe, but you as a dentist have to know what your mission is. You've got to know who you are and know your identity in it. Otherwise, how could anybody else know it? I mean, they can't create it for you. So, I mean, there's lots of ways to do it. There's lots of ways to be successful in this, whatever you want to put success on. It doesn't have to be money, but it usually follows if you have those things in place. So I think Tyler and I, and that's hard to do as a partnership too, is stay on the same page, but it's constant communication. I mean, constant. And I think that's what we did through COVID, was we stayed in contact with those girls all the time. I mean, whether it was with a group or individually, I mean, it was every day there was constant communication, which is just what we would have wanted. And we were communicating every day and trying to pass it along. I mean, if I were sitting where they were, I would want to know. I wouldn't want to be left to hang. I think that's what happened, is some people just left them out there and said, I'll check in with you whenever. And they just didn't. And then people were left to kind of come up with their own conclusions and their own information. And it sucks, but that's, where they ended up.
Yeah. And that's everything from teams, but also patients, is just making sure that they're aware of what their opportunities are, or, the different regulations that are going and how that impacts their overall health and their dental health and their oral care. That was key too. So, but yeah.
So much. Yeah. It was just changing so much. So, I mean, feels like it's gotten back to normal. I mean, I feel like all the things that we did kept everybody safe. And as time went on, we realized how much we were doing above and beyond, like most dental practices, I'm sure. I mean, we all realized it was still a safe place to go and work. And it wasn't, people were scared. I think people still are a little bit, but for the most part, things are back to normal and have been fairly normal for us for a while. But I think it was because we did so much work on the front end. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a time to buckle down and really not be scared of it and crumble, but instead thrive and say, this is a lot of opportunities. I think we implemented online forms with you. That was some advancements that we've been talking about, or you guys have been talking about, and then you implemented those features into the practice, which really it pushed everybody to kind of be more digital, push people to be more transparent, like you said, and whether it's with the team or the patients. So obviously it was a weird time, but there are some advantages that it brought dental community. I just think dental thrived during all that. Even talking to just everybody within the industry, it's pretty amazing to see how everybody came together and just wanted to educate and make things accessible to different dental practices to make sure you guys were able to thrive. Because you were shut down and not a lot of healthcare practices were, but dental was, so to be able to take that and make changes at the office and again, thrive was huge.
Yeah.
Have you noticed patients, you said everything's back to normal as far as like patients, have you noticed they've changed at all? Like I've had some practices talk about there's been like more no-shows, and I think it was more in the thick of it, and now it's pretty much back to how it is, but no-shows increased because people were still unsure and they weren't responding or weren't doing as much communication back unless it was like text or phone calls. Like some of that was going. Have you noticed any behaviors of patients changing afterwards, or does that all seem pretty normal too now?
We saw that for sure. I mean, with hygiene was a big time, whether it was fear or people using it as, if they weren't feeling well and just maybe being careful, or using it. I don't want to say using an excuse, because that'd be a gigantic assumption, but there definitely were, and it would leave us to we did see a trend. I think that it's getting back to, and you're always going to have people who aren't showing up, or just that kind of things happen. Right. But I definitely think the percentage has gotten closer to
what it was.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to be leveling out. So
Absolutely.
That's good to see.
Yeah, it is. It does seem a lot more normal, and that we can kind of get back to everything's opening up. So it's great to see that. And I know here in Nashville, so you guys are in Nashville, woo! Everything's full capacity and we're all back. So hopefully it stays that way. But now I really want to pick your guys' brains about marketing and just kind of talk about that of, what your guys' perspective has been through marketing. So what would you say your relationship was like with marketing even before Hi5? What are some different things that you guys did, and how has it been to find the right marketing and do the right things and understand it?
Well, before you guys, I mean, with Dr. Huffines, he was pretty big in the radio, like talk radio, and we advertised there a lot, which was fairly expensive. It was good to have our brand out there. The actual numbers of patients that it drove it really wasn't in my eyes, given the return. Just because I think the message got stale, and there were things that we couldn't, we're not radio talent, so we didn't know how to get in there. And I think if we had been maybe more present in it might have done a little better. But I think the message, we were kind of known to be on the talk radio, commercial waves, but so people knew about us, but I don't know how much it really made people drive to us.
Right.
Unless they were, maybe a little bit here and there, but not like I thought. And we've done print, and we did a little bit of TV, but I mean, through everything, in-house referrals has been far and away the most success. And we would do mailers, and a lot of times that would bring a lot of shoppers and people who weren't necessarily serious about becoming a lifetime patient. But when you have good patients and you ask them for referrals, they typically send people who are like them. And those are the best kind of patients, who come from people that they know and love and trust. So
absolutely,
that's what we've gravitated to. I mean, not to say that we're not open to other things, that we might not do other things in the future, but I don't know that in-house will ever go away. At least not in our practice. I mean, it should always be a component to any practice. I mean,
yeah, especially with how loyal your patients are to you. Why, you care so much about every patient experience. And as long as you use them as your brand advocates and make it easy for them to refer, it's crucial. Because like you just said, they're like-minded patients. Those are the people that you want in your practice, the ones that pay the bills, the ones that show up on time, the ones that you're excited to see, the ones that come in and you're just like, I don't know if they're going to come in, and they always have an attitude. They always fight me on this stuff. You have more control over the new patients coming into your practice by making it easy for your patients that you love to make it easy to refer out, or just communicating to them that, hey, we're accepting new patients just like you. We'd love to have more people, your friends and families and colleagues. Let them know that we're accepting patients. And that's so key for them to just be like, oh, I didn't realize. They tell their friends and family, and it grows your practice from within. But like you said, it's those lifetime patients. They're loyal to your practice. They're willing to advocate for you because they actually care. They're not just there to price shop for a cool deal and then take up time in your chair and leave, and you never see them again, never for treatment or anything. It's just that one time price shop. Yeah. So I think that's definitely key. It's so interesting to hear about traditional marketing because that was so prevalent then. It's still definitely an option now, but I think radio, there's so much radio options now. You have Sirius XM, you have everything, right? Now you have podcasts, you have Spotify. So there's just a lot of options and radios to go through. And same with TV. It's an ad that's on Hulu. Sometimes when you see, people don't even see traditional TV shows anymore or have like an antenna or anything anymore, right? It's all on demand. So it's interesting. I always love hearing how marketing has evolved and even how that's still stuff you can do. But to your point, if it's hard to get them to act, if they just hear it and they hear your name time and time again, it's going to be great to build that brand inside someone's memory, right? But otherwise, if they have to also memorize your phone number. But like podcasts and stuff, I make it easy because the ad you can actually click on and go because it's on a website. But it's hard to get people to act unless it's right in front of their face because it's so much is out there. There's so much that is constantly being distracted from every single person, whether that's social or online or their phone, text messages.
And it was expensive.
Yes. And that's huge, right? It's not only
getting the return, but if you're not, you kind of start to resent it. But then if it's been done for so long, you worry that if you stop it, you're going, how am I missing something that is actually being positive? And you almost get tied to it and you're afraid to stop it because Dr. Huffines did it for, gosh, it was many years. It was years. Yeah. We did, years. So stopping it was a little scary too. As hard as that's to say.
That kind of brings up, whenever we get a new patient, we like to track where they came from. So we can kind of, if they're all saying they came from Google, then we know obviously Google reviews have a big part of that. But, like Michael was saying, the majority of our patients, at least our good patients, are coming from being referred by our current patients. And we probably have a bit of an advantage over some people because we've been around for so long. So we have a very deep patient base, but leveraging your current patient base is always going to be the cheapest and most effective way to get more new patients.
Absolutely. And you can see your return of investment, like to your very point, and it's a lot more cost effective because that's what's scary. That is standard. What I notice on a daily basis is just there's so many options for marketing, and you guys aren't trained to be marketers, and that's got to be so overwhelming to be like we were talking about earlier. You have all these things on your plate, from being the CEO, business owner, to making sure your HR. Sometimes you probably have to be an electrician or a plumber. We always like to say those things. It's true. Whatever happens, you have to make sure it's taken care of. Oh, and by the way, you're a clinician. Like the main goal is to actually treat patients and make sure that they're taken care of. So then we talk to about marketing and giving the options. There's just so much out there, and I totally understand that it's overwhelming for me, and I'm a marketing expert in it. So it's like having that load on the patient or the doctors is insane. But it's part of it, right? This is why there's partnerships. But I remember, Dr. Oaks, when you first came to us, we were in the office, we had a conference room that was over in Bridgestone at the time. We sat in there, we talked about your brand. We did, gosh, we did everything.
Yeah. We're trying to, what do y'all call it when you're on the whiteboard? We were just like bubble thinking, just like whatever was coming to mind, a stream of consciousness kind of stuff. That was a long time ago.
I know. I was over 4 years. I think it's over 4 years ago. How crazy is that?
Yeah, it was 2016. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's wow. It's been an amazing ride for sure.
Yeah.
I've been loving seeing, like, not only because then, yeah, we got to work a little bit with Dr. Huffines and then figuring out the transition when he retired. And then Dr. Holmes, you came in before he retired, so we can make sure that you were introduced to the team and people knew who you were to make sure that we kept patients that have been with Dr. Huffines and we retain them, but also evolve the practice to what it's going to be now and into the future. And that has just been such an amazing ride with you guys. Oh my gosh. Like I said, you've taught me so much about marketing, but my favorite part is when we're able to go into your revenue well, and you guys use revenue well, and we send out patient communications on your behalf. We've done photography. I mean, but heck, with you guys, we've done your brand, website, listings. I saw you're up to 544 Google reviews now, which is amazing because I think you guys started at like 15 or something like that. So it's pretty crazy to see those numbers. But yeah, what is your guys' experience like with Hi5, and how have you enjoyed or not enjoyed, right, your experience over the years with us, and how have we helped you guys?
I think y'all's culture is what really shows through a lot. I mean, I think you and Kevin from the beginning have been always positive and really available. I mean, we had worked with some other marketing groups that I kind of was starting to lump marketing people with IT, where they would just flake out on you in a heartbeat. You would make all these promises and then nothing would happen. Yeah. And whether we were putting energy into it, but one of the best things that y'all did was at the beginning of the contract or the year is you put a plan in place, and then you're held accountable if we do or if we don't on both sides. That's been very different than others. There's often people who are creative don't have the organization with it, and that's been a big component to me, was creative people also being organized. So that's a big plus.
It's so true. Yeah. And it wasn't always, be frank, it wasn't always that way. We found that we're a communication company, so we have to be able to set that standard and make sure everybody knows their roles. And so we evolved the statement of work, and that made it so clear to identify, this is exactly what we're doing in the next year, and this is what we need your help with, but this is everything we're going to do for you, and make sure we'll get there. If we even it's evolved to having deadlines and making sure that what's coming when, and if they get pushed back, it's because we just need your participation with approvals, or coordinating photos and videos, right? But otherwise, I love that you say that, because that is true. And it can be daunting to know, like, okay, what part of marketing are you doing or not doing, since there's so much out there, and that's our clear playbook of exactly what's going to be happening for all parties involved.
Yeah, I could just get lost. I mean, that would have happened with, it's been a month and 2 months with other groups, and we go, well, what are we paying for? I don't even know what we're doing. And then you try and regroup, and then you waste time trying to regroup. I mean, but that's going to happen with anyone, but it was magnified pretty intensely with other groups that we had hired. So
yeah, some of the behind the scenes stuff that you guys do, that like Michael and I'll be talking, what is Hi5 doing right now, and then we'll ask the girls, well, when they send out a campaign, the phones are just ringing off the hook sometimes. So it's that kind of stuff too that you're working on, but then you see the return on it. So
yeah, that's always I always say the number one complaint, but it's not really a complaint, it's awesome, is the fact that front offices will say, do not send out a campaign, our phones are going to blow up and we don't have enough people in the front right now. Can we wait till next week when Corey's back from vacation, or what have you? Like there's certain things that you have to make sure that it's handled, and we love that, and I know you guys love that, because it means it's working. And a lot of times we find that is what blows my mind, that there's not more competition for us out there, because that is so key, and again, cost effective, is just nurturing your existing patients, letting them know what you offer, who you are, why they should trust you, and make it easy for them to act through emails and text messages. And then they keep coming back, and then they refer to their patients, and you just grow from the inside out. So I love that you guys say that you actually see, when we're going to send out a campaign, because you hear it. And they're probably coming to you like, no, we're busy. And we're like,
They
yeah.
better not. They better not.
I love it. Yes. And as far as a relationship, I mean, it goes both ways. I've loved working with you guys. You've always been amazing on making sure that we're the best that we can be, giving us great feedback, and just growing together has been such an amazing ride with you guys. And I can't wait to continue on. So is there any other tips when it comes to marketing that you would give other offices? Because again, I know it's overwhelming for practices to know what to do and when to do it, that you would like to give to people.
Don't miss that in-house. Don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds easy, but then when you're right in front of somebody, it can be harder than you think, and you just got to practice at it. But the ones who are the people who are thanking you for what you've just done, that's the time to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a missed opportunity if you don't. And I'm guilty of it a lot, just because you want to just you don't want to come across as pushy or anything. You want to kind of bask in that, oh, it felt so good, and then just kind of leave on a high note, like George Costanza or something, just let's leave. But that's a good point. That's a good time to ask. So that would be my advice to like a young dentist, if they're working for it, don't miss that opportunity. It's just in the house. That's
so key. You have them so happy. Ask them right then and there for a review and to refer their friends and family. And it's conversational. I think a lot of times people feel like it's a sales thing, like, oh, I'm asking something from them. No, you are asking them to spread joy. Like, they are happy. Let them tell
You're giving them a compliment too. I mean, if you're saying I want more people like you, then that's an easy way of saying it. Is saying, listen, I appreciate you. Just send more people like you. I want to take care of more people like that's an easy way of doing it. And then, I'm serious. Tell them to ask for whoever you want to see. Just, I love it. And then maybe it sticks in their brain, maybe it doesn't. I mean, we've been more formal and handed them stuff, which seems to work too. But it's a start anyway.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. For anybody that's watching out there that maybe is a potential patient or want to learn more about Vitality Dental, you can contact Vitality, Dr. Oates and Dr. Holmes, by visiting their website at vitalitydentaltn.com, or their phone number is 615-885-1555. And if you have any questions about us at Hi5 or how you want us to help you or potentially use your communications, you can schedule a consultation with us at hi5practice.com and be an awesome client just like Vitality Dental. Yay! But again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me during lunch. I had so much fun, and maybe I'll have you guys on again soon. Yay!
Thanks, Abbey.
Bye.
Bye.